Part 1, the complaint. It started with a letter taped to my front door. Bold block letters scrawled in red ink on the HOA letterhead. Your backyard swing produces an audible creaking noise during wind events, disturbing neighborhood peace, and violating HOA noise regulations. Please remove it within 48 hours to avoid penalties. I laughed out loud. The swing? The one my dad built for my 10th birthday? The one that made a soft, almost nostalgic creak when the breeze moved through? That swing had been there for over 20 years. It was practically a family heirloom, a symbol of late summer evenings and gentle laughter under the stars. But now it was under attack by none other than Karen Whitmore, president of the Sunridge Hills Homeowners Association and self-appointed neighborhood dictator. Karen was notorious. She once issued a warning to the Martinez family for leaving a garden gnome on their porch, claiming it was visually disruptive. Another time, she tried to fine old Mr. Jennings for having overly exuberant Halloween decorations, which basically meant 2 jack-o'-lanterns and a plastic bat. And now, the swing. The next morning, I stood by it, sipping my coffee, just listening. Sure enough, the swing gave a faint creak when the wind brushed past. Not a loud, rusty protest, just a mellow sigh, like the swing was reminiscing about its childhood too. Was it really that bad? My neighbor Lisa didn't think so. I think the sound is kind of peaceful, she said over the fence, brushing dirt off her gardening gloves. It's like ambiance. Honestly, your wind chimes are louder. Ah, the wind chimes. I had 3 small bamboo ones hanging from my back porch, but they'd never been a problem before, until now. At 11:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. Subject line, urgent swing notice, final warning. From Karen, of course. This is a formal notification that the swing remains in place. Several neighbors, names withheld, have reported ongoing disturbance. Failure to comply within 24 hours will result in escalating action. Escalating action, huh? What did that mean? Sending in the HOA SWAT team? I knew what this was really about. Karen didn't care about the swing. She cared about control. She hated that my house had more personality than hers. She hated that people actually liked visiting my backyard. She hated that I didn't cower at her passive-aggressive notes like the rest of the block. She wanted a fight? Oh, she was going to get one. Step 1. The lube job. That afternoon, I stopped by the hardware store, bought the best lubricant I could find, thick, long-lasting, made for industrial hinges. I practically baptized that swing with it. The hinges, the chains, the hooks. They were so well oiled I could have swung a hippo on that thing without a squeak. Then I tested it. Silence. Glorious, eerie silence. I sat on it, rocked, kicked my legs out. Still nothing. Not even a whisper. I grinned and looked across the street, right at Karen's house. Her curtains twitched. Perfect. Step 2. The wind chime. If she hated the swing for making noise in the wind, I wondered how she'd feel about a little more natural ambiance. The next day, I ordered a giant wind chime online. Not one of those sweet, dainty ones either. This thing was a 4-foot-long, handcrafted beast made of aluminum tubes tuned to deep, resonant tones. The kind of chime that didn't just make sound, it sang like a Buddhist monastery during a thunderstorm. When it arrived, I waited until Karen was at her weekly HOA committee meeting. Yes, they actually had meetings every Wednesday, bless their hearts. And I took a stroll over to her front yard. She had this decorative iron arch over her front path with little hooks for hanging flower baskets. No baskets today, but one mighty wind chime fit just right. I hung it, straight, centered, polished. I even left a tiny card attached, to the Queen of Peaceful Neighborhoods. May the wind be ever in your favor. Then I walked away. Chapter 2. The Meltdown. The next morning at 7:12 a.m., I was brushing my teeth when I heard it. Gong! Dong! Chime! The chimes sang, loud, proud, and deep, like the soundtrack of a yoga retreat designed by Thor. And then came the screaming. Who did this? Karen's voice pierced the air like a fire siren. I jogged to the window and peeked out, toothbrush still in my mouth. She was in her bathrobe, barefoot on her front lawn, flailing her arms at the wind chime like it was a demon. Neighbors peeked out their windows. A few even came out with phones. Mr. Jennings was recording from his porch, giggling like a schoolboy. Karen yanked the chime down, muttering curses I couldn't believe she knew. She stormed back into her house, slamming the door behind her so hard a nearby squirrel fell off the fence. But that wasn't the end of it. No, ma'am. At 9:34 a.m., another email arrived. Subject line, formal HOA action, noise disturbance investigation. After an alarming escalation of noise incidents on Maplewood Lane, the HOA board will be investigating sources of community disruption. All residents are reminded to keep decorative items within reasonable auditory limits. Repeat offenders will be subject to citations. Oh, Karen. Sweet, sweet Karen. You just made it official. Chapter 3. Revenge served with a smile. At noon, I printed out a fresh sign. White background, big bold letters. Peace and quiet starts within. I hung it on my front porch directly across from Karen's living room window. Then I hosted a backyard brunch. Lisa brought banana bread. The Johnsons brought mimosas. The swing? It got used more than ever before. Kids, adults, even Mrs. Patel gave it a try. And every single time, no sound. Karen watched from her front window the whole time. I saw the curtain flutter every few minutes. She was seething, but I wasn't done. At 3 p.m., I held a wind chime workshop in my yard. Yep, I invited neighbors to bring their own wind chimes, and we hung them on a shared lattice fence I built just for the occasion. 15 chimes, 15 different tones. We called it the Symphony of the Breeze. We even had a sign-up sheet for weekly chime rotations. It was beautiful, it was loud, it was legal, and it was driving Karen absolutely mad. Part 2. Karen's counterattack. By Monday, the wind chime wall had become a thing. People brought more. Some folks even ordered custom chimes from Etsy, engraved with quotes like, "Let it chime. Karen can't cancel the wind. Breezy, not bossy." It turned into a neighborhood bonding moment. For the first time in years, people were talking, smiling, sharing stories over fence lines. Kids played hopscotch on the sidewalk while the air sang in harmonious, metallic notes. Except for one house. Karen's. Her shutters stayed drawn. Her blinds remained tightly closed. But every now and then, someone would spot her peeking out with binoculars like she was monitoring enemy troop movements. Then came the flyer. Tuesday morning, everyone's mailbox was hit with a brand new HOA newsletter. Special Bulletin Edition, it said, as if we were on the brink of a Category 5 storm. Inside, due to rising complaints about inappropriate outdoor decorations and unapproved sound-emitting installations, the HOA will be holding an emergency hearing this Friday. All homeowners are required to attend. Attached was a blurry photo of my swing. Not a person sitting on it, not even a noise meter reading. Just the swing, in all its innocent, well-oiled glory. Also included, a picture of the wind chime wall with the caption, "This is not art, this is auditory harassment." I laughed so hard I nearly fell into my compost bin, but Karen wasn't done. Wednesday morning, I woke up to a new note taped to my door. This one had no HOA letterhead, just red ink, all caps. "You think this is funny? You won't be laughing after Friday." No signature, of course, but I knew the handwriting. It had the same angry slanted R's and the overly aggressive underlines. Karen had gone rogue. Chapter 4. The HOA Showdown. Friday came fast, too fast. The emergency HOA meeting was held in the community center, an ugly beige building with plastic chairs, bad coffee, and zero air circulation. The kind of place where dreams go to suffocate. I showed up 10 minutes early, just to make sure I got a seat near the front. Karen, of course, was already there, standing at the podium like she was running a courtroom, not a suburban meeting. She wore a navy pantsuit, a clipboard clutched in her hand, and a Bluetooth headset in one ear. Was she expecting CNN to livestream this? Around the room, neighbors filtered in, whispering, nodding toward me, smiling like they knew something was about to go down. They weren't wrong. Karen cleared her throat, tapped the mic unnecessarily. and launched into her speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered today to address a growing threat to our neighborhood's peaceful character. A persistent nuisance has emerged, one that disrupts our daily tranquility with constant, unregulated auditory pollution. She turned and pointed. At me. This homeowner has refused multiple requests to dismantle a swing that squeaks at all hours and has now led an organized campaign to erect an illegal wind chime wall. We have had 12 complaints filed in the past week alone. I raised my hand. From who? Karen blinked. That information is confidential. Lisa stood up from her chair. I didn't complain. I love the chimes. Mr. Jennings added, I sleep better with them, like musical melatonin. Even the Johnsons spoke up. Our toddler naps better now than ever. That deep bong note knocks him right out. Karen's eyes narrowed. Her Bluetooth blinked like it was getting angry too. The point is, she snapped, this is not in keeping with the HOA aesthetic. Our bylaws clearly state, may I see those bylaws? I interrupted, walking up with a laminated copy of the HOA handbook I had highlighted the night before. She froze. You can't bring that up here. I can if you're trying to find me, I said cheerfully. Let's look at the section about outdoor fixtures and noise complaints, shall we? I flipped to page 12. Auditory decorations such as chimes are permitted so long as they do not exceed a decibel level deemed disruptive by a certified sound test. I turned to the audience. Guess who brought a decibel meter? The room gasped. I pulled out the tiny device, clicked it on, and played a pre-recorded audio of the wind chimes during a breezy afternoon. 42 dB. The average was quieter than a normal conversation. I turned to Karen. You were saying? Chapter 5. Karen's Cracking Point. Karen didn't just lose the vote that day. She lost her composure. Her hands shook. Her face flushed tomato red. She slammed the clipboard onto the table and muttered something about legal action and federal noise violations, which didn't even make sense in context. The HOA board, clearly done with the circus, ruled unanimously that the swing stays. The wind chime wall stays. No further complaints without certified documentation. And finally, Karen would be temporarily suspended from acting as HOA president for 1 month pending a review. The room erupted in applause. Even the coffee tasted better. Outside, I was surrounded like a hometown hero. People patted my back. Kids asked to play on the swing. Someone even offered to make shirts that said Team Swing in Comic Sans. I politely declined. Karen. She stormed to her car, muttering about uncultured buffoons and losing to backyard hippies. Her car sputtered once, twice, then stalled. No one offered help. That night, the wind chime wall sang louder than ever. We even installed a solar-powered spotlight to shine on it, casting dancing shadows on the fence that looked like floating spirits. The wind blew, the chimes sang, and somewhere across the street, a curtain twitched with rage. Part 3. Karen's Comeback Plan. The silence was suspicious. After the HOA meeting takedown, Karen disappeared for 4 full days. No notes, no emails, no binocular glares from behind her curtains. It was unnerving, like the quiet before a tornado touches down. Too calm, too still, too Karen-y. Lisa called it a false retreat. She's plotting something, she warned, sipping her iced tea like a seasoned war general. Trust me, Karen doesn't go down without a hissy fit and a monologue. Turns out Lisa was right. Thursday morning, the code violation trap. It started small. I came home from the grocery store and found a neon orange notice of violation posted on my garage. Unapproved structural alteration detected. Backyard fence appears to exceed height restrictions. Action required within 72 hours. What? I measured that fence myself. It was 5 feet, 11 inches, well within the 6-foot limit. But Karen had brought out a laser measurer and claimed one corner, where the ground sloped upward slightly, hit 6 feet and 1 inch. Unbelievable. Worse, I found a folding ladder shoved under the hedge. She'd probably used it herself to prove her theory. Friday, the trash day ambush. At 6:01 a.m., I wheeled my bins to the curb. At 6:03 a.m., I received a warning email. Trash bins may not be left on the street before 6 a.m., or after 6 p.m. on designated collection days. You are being formally documented for early placement. 2 minutes. She had a time-stamped photo with a ruler next to the bin. She had waited outside in the dark just for that. Karen was back, and she was unhinged. Saturday, the guest list incident, I hosted a backyard BBQ for a few friends and neighbors. Nothing wild, just burgers, soda, and a few acoustic guitar tunes. Everyone was mellow and well-behaved. Karen called the non-emergency police line, claimed we were violating noise ordinances and hosting a commercial event without a permit. Officer Daniels showed up mid-cornhole game. He'd already been here before. He knew the deal. "Sorry, folks," he said, trying not to laugh. "Got another anonymous tip from, well, let's not pretend. Everything looks fine. Carry on." He stayed for a hot dog. Karen watched from her window like a soap opera villain. Monday, the petty explosion. Then came the final straw. I woke up to find my swing, my beautiful, silent, nostalgic swing, wrapped in plastic wrap and caution tape, with a handwritten sign, "Unsafe, pending investigation, HOA intervention authorized." She vandalized my property. That was the moment something snapped inside me. Not rage, not frustration, but the most dangerous weapon of all, creativity fueled by pettiness. It was time. If Karen wanted war, she was going to get a musical, legally airtight, community-supported symphony of passive aggression. Chapter 6, Operation Echo Breeze. Step 1, documentation. I printed the city ordinance, highlighted every regulation about fence height, trash placement, noise levels, decorative features, and private property interference. I filed an official report about the swing sabotage, attaching camera footage from my doorbell cam, showing Karen sneaking into my backyard under the cover of 5:43 a.m. fog. Boom. Trespassing. Step 2, amplification. I upgraded the chime wall, not louder, just smarter. I installed motion sensor lights that activated a soft glow when the wind passed through. It turned the whole backyard into a peaceful light and sound installation. People loved it. Lisa brought over herbal tea and called it spa therapy. Even the HOA's vice president dropped by and asked if he could bring his book club next week. Step 3, the balloon letter. This part, a little theatrical, but necessary. I filled a helium balloon with a laminated card attached. It read, "Dear Karen, wind is free, so is sound, so is joy. Let it go. Love, the swing." I released it into the sky, watched it float, then gently land. Right on Karen's lawn, her scream echoed like a kettle exploding. Chapter 7, the final HOA meeting. Karen demanded a second emergency meeting, claimed the neighborhood was spiraling into chaos because of my sound cult. She even presented a slideshow titled, "Invasion of the Chimers, How One Man's Swing Led to Neighborhood Collapse." But this time, the crowd wasn't with her. People rolled their eyes. Some brought popcorn. I wore a t-shirt with a swing silhouette and the words, "Let it creak." When Karen finished her rant, the board chair simply said, "Ma'am, your complaints are no longer viewed as objective. We've reviewed the surveillance footage you submitted and found you tampered with your neighbor's property. That's grounds for your fine." She froze. "You're fining me?" "Yes, and we're putting your HOA presidency under permanent review." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a stunned goldfish. For the first time in HOA history, she had no rebuttal. That night, neighbors threw a surprise party in my backyard. We called it the Win and Whimsy Festival. The chime wall played its notes. The swing rocked gently in the breeze. People danced barefoot on the grass. Even Karen's husband, who'd been mostly silent through all this, wandered over and said quietly, "I told her the swing was fine from the beginning. She never listens." I handed him a drink. He stayed for 3 hours. And that's how Karen's comeback became her swan song. Because in the end, you can't beat the wind. You can't silence a swing that refuses to be still. And you definitely can't out-petty someone armed with lubrication, legal codes, and an entire neighborhood that's just done with your nonsense. Title, The Swing That Sang in the Wind. Part 4, The Fall of Queen Karen. If there's one thing Karen Whitmore couldn't handle, more than wind chimes, swings, or smiling neighbors, It was irrelevance. After the HOA board suspended her indefinitely, she went into full social hibernation. No emails, no flyers, not even her usual Tuesday weed violation watchdog patrols. But I knew better than to relax. See, Karen wasn't the type to quit. She was the type to plot. And sure enough, 2 weeks after the Wind and Whimsy Festival, she made her quiet return to the battlefield. Chapter 8. The Garden Gambit. It began with landscaping. Overnight, Karen transformed her front yard into what she called a Zen anti-chime garden. No joke. She ripped out all the grass, replaced it with white pebbles, plastic bonsai trees, and a massive sign in all caps. Silence is golden. Please respect the vibrations. It looked less like a garden and more like a rejected prop from a low-budget sci-fi movie about a mute cult. Neighbors paused in front of it, unsure whether to laugh or call someone. Then came the next phase. She filed a petition to ban auditory objects that emit sound through environmental triggers, citing it as a mental health hazard. She even got 2 signatures, one from her cousin who didn't live in the neighborhood, and one from poor Mrs. Evers, who thought she was signing up for Meals on Wheels. The HOA board declined the petition in under 7 minutes. Chapter 9. The Neighborhood Newsletter Bombshell. But Karen wasn't done. One breezy Tuesday, a new issue of the Maplewood Monthly landed in every mailbox. Normally, it was just recipes, recycling reminders, and the occasional birth announcement. But this was a special edition, fully hijacked by Karen. Front page headline, Sound Warfare. How one swing divided Maplewood forever. It included a dramatic before and after of the neighborhood. The after photo literally had a pigeon mid-squawk. A fake poll claiming 87% of residents report heightened anxiety since swing noises increased. A detailed psychological breakdown titled, The Neuroscience of Creak-Induced Stress. It was bananas. She even included a cartoon of me, yes, me, as a puppet master controlling tiny wind chime-shaped zombies. But Karen's magnum opus came at the very end. An invitation. Yes, an actual event invitation. You are cordially invited to Karen's Silent Reclamation Rally, featuring a symbolic swing burial, a Burn the Chimes effigy, free cucumber water. Saturday, 10 a.m. in her front yard. I choked on my coffee. Lisa burst out laughing for 5 straight minutes. Mr. Jennings asked if he could bring his lawn chair and popcorn with extra salt. We all knew something was going to go horribly, hilariously wrong. We just didn't know how yet. Chapter 10. The Rally Herd. Round the Block Saturday came with clear skies and a gentle wind, chimes softly playing like they knew this was their moment. Karen's yard was decorated with solemn banners. End the noise. Swings are not sacred. Make Maplewood silent again. A small crowd gathered, mostly curious neighbors, a few bored teenagers, and one man from the HOA board holding a clipboard and a skeptical eyebrow. At the center, a dug-up patch of dirt with a little wooden cross labeled, Here Lies Sanity, Victim of a Squeaky Swing. Next to it, a papier-mâché chime effigy made of toilet paper rolls, aluminum foil, and spite. Karen wore all black like she was officiating a funeral for Beethoven. She raised a megaphone. We are here today to take back our neighborhood from chaos, noise, mental invasion. She held up a symbolic petition scroll, which unrolled to a whopping 3 feet of blank paper. Someone coughed. A teenager snickered. Karen continued unfazed. Today we bury the symbol of unrest, and we rise again into the era of peace and decibel discipline. She walked toward the swing-shaped cardboard prop, lifted it dramatically, and tripped. Not just a stumble, a full cinematic tumble, face first into the mound of dirt and fake pebbles. Her megaphone flew. The aluminum foil chime effigy toppled onto her head. Clong! The most beautiful accidental chime ever heard. Chapter 11. Viral fame and instant karma phones were already out. Everyone got it. Every single angle. The fall. The sound. The brief silence afterward. Then the voice of Mr. Jennings. Well, I guess the wind had something to say. It hit social media within the hour. By noon, the clip was trending locally. By 3 p.m., a remix version with techno beats and bass drops had over 80,000 views. Someone launched a TikTok challenge, your Karen Clang Challenge. Even the city mayor retweeted it with the caption, and the wind said, "Not today, Karen." Karen, she went dark, deleted her Facebook, took down her Zen anti-Chime garden, covered all her windows with blackout curtains like she was preparing for a vampire invasion. No one saw her for days. Rumor had it she tried to file a cease and desist on the remix video, but accidentally sent it to a K-pop fan account. Justice was swift and extremely musical. Chapter 12. The harmony after the storm life returned to normal. The swing, still standing, still silent, still swaying like it didn't just take down an empire. The chime wall? Even better, now with solar-powered rainbow LEDs that lit up in gentle pulses every evening, like a heartbeat of calm. The HOA? Stronger than ever now, with a Karen clause added to prevent future abuse of power. Every Saturday we hosted community wind-downs, a casual backyard hangout with mellow music, hot cider, and yes, wind chimes. One evening, as the sun dipped below the rooftops and the breeze began its gentle song, Lisa leaned over and whispered, "You think she's watching us?" I smiled. "Oh, she's watching, but this time, from the shadows, silently." We clinked mugs and listened to the swing hum softly. Peace had returned, but this time it sounded a whole lot sweeter. Part 5. The Redemption, or the Ruse. 3 weeks passed in blissful, chime-filled harmony. The neighborhood felt lighter. The air smelled sweeter. Even the mailman started whistling again. Karen vanished. No HOA rants, no paper flyers, no midnight measuring tapes or fake citations. Her yard looked frozen in time, mulch unturned, porch unswept, wind completely unchimed. We began to believe she'd finally surrendered, maybe moved, maybe joined a monastery where silence was worshipped and swings were outlawed. But on the fourth Sunday of the month, at exactly 2 a.m., it happened. The garage door creaked open, and out stepped Karen Whitmore, in yoga pants, carrying a tray of muffins. Chapter 13. The Muffin Mystery. She made her way down the street, stopping at each house and handing out muffins like she was campaigning for mayor of Forgiveness Town. At first, people thought it was a prank. Lisa took one but sniffed it for signs of laxatives. Mr. Jennings poked his with a stick. When Karen reached my door, I was already waiting. She smiled. "Morning," she said, her tone light. "Thought I'd bring by a peace offering. Lemon poppy seed. No nuts. I remember you said you were allergic." "Okay, who was this woman, and what had she done with the HOA overlord?" "Thanks," I said slowly. "What's the occasion?" Karen took a deep breath. "I took some time to reflect. I let things get out of hand. I realize now that maybe I was trying to control things because I couldn't control everything else in my life, and that wasn't fair to you, or the swing, or the wind." I blinked. She continued, "I'm stepping away from the HOA permanently. I want to focus on being a better neighbor. And friend, if you'll allow it." Friend? This was either the greatest character arc in neighborhood history or the beginning of an elaborate ambush. Chapter 14. Suspiciously Nice. Karen, the new Karen, let's call her Nice Karen TM, was unsettling. She started complimenting my lawn. She asked Lisa about her tomato plants. She even attended the next Wind and Whimsy gathering and brought vegan brownies. People didn't know how to respond. Some avoided eye contact. Others whispered conspiracy theories. "She's launching a long game," Lisa muttered. "She's gonna lull us in. Then boom, surprise swing ban." "Or maybe," Mr. Jennings said, "she joined a cult that worships ambient noise." "Or maybe," I said, cautiously hopeful, "she actually changed." We all stared at each other, then laughed, and agreed to keep watching. Chapter 15. The Book Club Bombshell. A week later, Karen started a neighborhood book club. She named it Turning Pages, Turning Leaves. Cute, right? The first meeting was at her house. People were hesitant, but curiosity won. Free snacks helped. To everyone's shock, the evening went well. Karen wore pastel. She had tea candles. The discussion was civil. No one got fined for talking too loud. No one got shamed for parking outside the lines. But then, she asked about the next book and pulled out a title. The Art of Quiet Spaces, Embracing Life Without Noise. A hush fell over the room. I raised an eyebrow. Lisa whispered, "Here it comes." But Karen just smiled. "Don't worry, it's not about wind chimes. More about inner peace and feng shui." Was it a trap? Or a genuine interest in minimalism? No one could tell anymore. Chapter 16. The Swing Confession. 2 days later, Karen stopped by again. No muffins this time. Just herself, in a cardigan, looking nervous. "Can I sit?" she asked, pointing to the swing. I blinked. Sure." She sat. It creaked, softly, comfortably. She smiled at the sound. "I used to have a swing like this growing up," she said quietly. "Before my parents divorced, before we moved, the wind would push it just like this. That's why I hated yours so much. It made me remember." And just like that, it clicked. The noise wasn't the problem. It was what the noise reminded her of. Pain, change, loss. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and for the first time I believed her. Chapter 17. Karen 2.0, Nice Karen to Mop became just Karen, a real person, not perfect, but no longer a tyrant. She joined the gardening club, donated old HOA binders to recycling, even helped repaint the community center in pastel blue, not HOA beige. She suggested hosting a swing appreciation day in spring. She planted lavender under her front window, and in the ultimate twist of fate, she hung a small bamboo wind chime under her porch light. It was subtle, gentle, beautiful, like closure. But then, one breezy Thursday morning, a new resident moved in across the street, a man in a gray polo, clipboard in hand, measuring tape sticking out of his backpack. And as he stepped out of the U-Haul, he scowled at Lisa's garden gnome and muttered, "Eyesore." I froze. Karen froze. She looked at me. I looked at her. We both said it at the same time. We have a problem. Part 6. The Rise of Greg. His name was Greg Langston, and from the moment he stepped out of that rental truck in his khaki cargo shorts, HOA visor, and orthopedic sneakers, we all knew this man was a problem. He didn't smile. He didn't wave. He stared at my swing like it owed him money. Chapter 18. The First Complaint. Deja vu. Greg moved in on a Wednesday. By Friday morning, I got an email. Subject line, unauthorized outdoor motion apparatus. Dear neighbor, I've observed a suspended seating device in your backyard that appears to be in violation of standard motion noise policy. The structure emits periodic creaking sounds during wind events and is visible from street level. Please confirm whether you have submitted Form 8A12 for fixture approval. If not, I suggest immediate removal. I stared at the screen. Lisa looked over my shoulder. Is this HOA Karen fan fiction? But it wasn't. Greg was real. He was alive. And he was worse than Karen. Because unlike Karen, who led with passive aggression and emotional repression, Greg led with policy, precision, and PowerPoint slides. Chapter 19. The new regime turns out Greg used to be the president of his last HOA until he was voted out for trying to ban bird feeders for being messy and socially manipulative to squirrels. Within his first week here, Greg had asked 3 neighbors to repaint their mailboxes, photographed a toddler chalk drawing on a driveway, and reported it as unauthorized surface graffiti. Delivered printed HOA codes to every house, highlighted, color-coded, and bound with a branded Greg sticker. He was, in short, a beige hurricane. Chapter 20. The Karen-Greg confrontation word got around that Greg had called Karen. He found her old files, asked her to help him restore the HOA to glory. Big mistake. One sunny afternoon, I spotted them standing at the edge of Karen's yard. Karen in lavender, arms crossed. Greg in his regulation visor, clipboard in hand. From my porch, I heard snippets. Sound protocols are being ignored. Now you're Chime too, Karen, I'm sorry. Um, we could reinstate your presidency? And then, loud and clear from Karen, Greg, I didn't reform my entire personality just to become your noise deputy. Step off my mulch. She stormed away. Greg stood frozen, betrayed. And suddenly, we were on the same team. Chapter 21. Enemies to frenemies. That evening, Karen knocked on my door. She didn't have muffins this time. She had a plan. He's worse than I ever was. He made a spreadsheet of which houses have squeaky doors. We need to stop him. We? I said. Don't make me say it again, she grumbled. I'm not proud of it, but I need your help. I smiled. All right, Operation Swing Defense, round 2. Let's go. We fist bumped. History was made. Chapter 22, The Counter-Offensive. Together we organized the neighborhood. We called it Freedom of Movement and Sound. Karen created flyers, colorful, friendly, filled with illustrations of happy wind chimes and smiling swings. We hosted a community chime crafting night. Lisa made banners. Mr. Jennings wrote a protest song titled, Let It Squeak. We even designed little badges with the logo, a tiny swing, mid-arc, trailing music notes. Greg was not pleased. He tried to implement a temporary motion suspension directive. We responded with lawn signs. Got wind? Let it swing. Say no to sound jail. Greg is not the breeze boss. Chapter 23, The Town Hall Takedown. Greg called for an emergency HOA town hall. Deja vu, but this time with better snacks and more glitter. Greg wore a tie. He brought a projector. His presentation was titled The Decibel Menace: How Motion-Based Fixtures Are Undermining Civil Order. It was 63 slides. There were graphs. He cited a study that was later revealed to be about airport runway noise. And just as he hit slide 44, the psychological damage of rhythmic pendulums, Karen stood up. Greg, she said calmly, respectfully, sit down. Excuse me? You're not restoring order. You're creating chaos. We like the swing. We like the chimes. And we're not going back to 2022. She looked at the crowd. Right? The room erupted in cheers. Greg's pointer drooped. His projector froze. Mr. Jennings hit play on Let It Squeak over the speakers. It was beautiful. Chapter 24, The Resolution. The HOA board voted unanimously to reinstate auditory fixture freedom, ban micromanagement campaigns, create a new code, no weaponizing policies for personal vendettas. They called it the Greg Clause. Greg resigned the next day. He said he was moving to a quieter neighborhood, one with 0 swings. The next morning, a group of neighbors helped him pack. They hummed a soft wind chime melody as they loaded the U-Haul. Greg didn't say goodbye, but Karen waved, and maybe, just maybe, he waved back. Chapter 25, The Celebration. The following weekend, we threw the biggest party yet. It was called the Great Swing In. Everyone came, even the shy families from the edge of the neighborhood. We hung up extra chimes, lit fairy lights, hosted a swing-off competition. Karen emceed the event. She wore a shirt that said, Chime and let chime. And somewhere in the middle of it all, she sat on my swing. She rocked gently, closed her eyes, and smiled. And that, dear reader, is the story of how the swing that creaked in the wind united a neighborhood, took down 2 HOA tyrants, redeemed a legend, and proved once and for all, you don't mess with peace, you don't silence joy, and you never, ever underestimate the power of one squeaky swing. Part 7, The HOA Reboot. You'd think after taking down not 1 but 2 HOA tyrants, the neighborhood would dissolve the entire association and just live in eternal, swing-filled anarchy. But no, we were Americans. We needed structure. So, 2 weeks after Greg's departure, a motion was passed to reform the HOA under a new charter with new leadership and, get this, a brand new name, the Maplewood Community Kindness and Order Society, MCKOS, pronounced McCAWS, like a confused parrot. It was voted on during a backyard chili cook-off. Lisa was horrified. It sounds like a dystopian book club, Mr. Jennings chuckled, or a retirement home for ex-tyrants. But despite the name, the intent was clear. No more fines without evidence. No more rulers hidden in purses. No more surprise petitions about squirrel behavior. Just simple neighborly guidelines. The problem? Someone had to lead it. And that's when Karen stood up. Chapter 26. The Comeback Campaign. She cleared her throat, hands behind her back. "I'd like to run for president." Gasps. A tomato dropped to the grass. Lisa dropped her fork. Karen raised her hands. "I know. I know what I was. But I've changed. You've seen it. I brought muffins. I hosted book club. I publicly fist-bumped a swing." She took a deep breath. "But I don't want to run alone. I need someone who's honest, fair, not afraid of chimes, someone who held me accountable, someone who saved this neighborhood from itself." She turned to me. Everyone else did too. I blinked. "Wait, me?" "Co-presidents," Karen said. "We balance each other. Chaos and order. Wind and swing." Lisa leaned in. "You have to say yes. This is the origin story of the greatest HOA duo of all time." Mr. Jennings raised a lighter like he was at a rock concert. "Let the wind speak." And just like that, I agreed. Chapter 27. The Election That Shocked No One. We ran unopposed because honestly, no one wanted the job. Karen and I gave a joint speech on Lisa's front lawn. Karen wore lavender. I wore a t-shirt that said, "Vote for Chill." Shuri Hain. Our promises were simple. No fines without photo and video proof. A swing in every yard. Okay, suggested, not required. Monthly neighborhood hangouts. No more Gregs. We won with 97% of the vote. The other 3% were abstentions from the Goldsteins, who were still bitter. No one liked their tuna casserole. Chapter 28. Rules that actually made sense. We wrote a new handbook. Not 80 pages of fear and font size manipulation like the old one. Just 4 pages, big font, lots of white space. Key highlights: lawn height maximum, short enough to see the dog, long enough to hide one lost sock. Noise policy: don't be a jerk. If you're not sure, ask. Decorations: go nuts during holidays. No inflatable dragons in February unless it's your birthday. Karen Clause 2.00. No citizen may use HOA authority to settle personal vendettas or crush childhood memories. We printed them on pastel green paper and handed them out with cookies. People cheered. Someone brought out a karaoke machine. Karen sang "Wind Beneath My Wings." I cried a little. It was weird and beautiful. Chapter 29. Trouble in Paradise. For a while, things were good, too good, suspiciously good. Then came the fence incident. It started with a simple message in the HOA inbox. "Dear Missy Kos, my neighbor's new fence has tiny animal-shaped cutouts in the wood panels. I believe one of them is flipping me off. Please advise." Concerned, but not Karen. We investigated. The fence was adorable. The cutouts were squirrels, cats, and yes, one raccoon with a very ambiguous paw gesture. Karen squinted. Could be flipping, could be waving. We called a vote. Final ruling: rude raccoons are protected by artistic expression. Chapter 30. Karen rebooted. At the next HOA gathering, Karen arrived with something no one expected. A new swing. In her yard, it was beautiful. Oak wood, steel chain, lavender cushions. She looked proud, nervous, hopeful. She gestured to it like a magician revealing a trick. "I installed it myself." Everyone clapped, even the Goldsteins. She sat on it. It creaked, softly, musically. Karen laughed. "Sounds like peace to me." That evening, we all gathered around her swing. Wind in the air, chimes in the distance, kids playing hopscotch on the sidewalk. And me? I leaned back, watching it all, realizing something. The swing had never really been about noise. It had always been about freedom, movement, memory. And now, it was about redemption. Part 8. Chimes, Chaos, and Viral. Karen, after months of harmony, the neighborhood was glowing. Lawns were trimmed, mostly. Swings creaked happily, and HOA meetings now ended with potlucks instead of passive-aggressive PowerPoints. But peace, like a toddler with juice, is never stable for long. Chapter 31. The karaoke caper. It began innocently enough. One Friday night, the Patel family set up a backyard karaoke machine for their daughter's 12th birthday. Songs were sung, cupcakes were devoured. No one thought anything of it until 11:03 p.m. when Mr. Goldstein burst out of his house wearing a robe, Crocs, and vengeance. "This isn't Coachella!" He marched into the Patel's yard, holding a decibel meter app on his iPhone and waving it like a lightsaber. "This party is violating the noise clause." Karen and I were already halfway down the street, summoned by Lisa's emergency group text. "Karaoke chaos. Send witnesses. Bring snacks." We arrived just in time to hear Mr. Goldstein butcher "My Heart Will Go On" into the mic, trying to prove how offensive karaoke could be. Ironically, that was the loudest part of the night. Karen tapped him on the shoulder. "Morty, it's a birthday party. For a child. Chill." He spun toward her. "You!" This is what happens when swings are allowed to lead society. Karen held up her HOA badge, laminated with glitter. "We don't police joy, but we do recommend wrapping by 10:30 p.m. Going forward, let's keep mics off after 10 or move the party inside. Fair?" Mr. Goldstein growled but nodded. The next day, the Patels left her a thank you pie. Chapter 32. The Lawn Wedding Surprise. 2 weeks later, something magical and wildly unapproved happened. At precisely 4:07 p.m., on a sunny Saturday, a white van rolled into Lot 12, the communal green space we use for HOA meetings, egg hunts, and once a failed goat yoga class. Out came a minister, a portable arch, folding chairs, a wedding quartet playing acoustic Ed Sheeran, and then a bride in full gown with a groom in a velvet maroon suit. Turns out they were the grown-up children of the Rodriguez family. They'd planned a surprise pop-up wedding because they couldn't afford a venue. No permits, no heads up, just pure, spontaneous joy. The first person to arrive, Karen. She saw the commotion, the arch, the quartet, and froze. Old Karen would have blown a gasket. New Karen, she called me. "We're about to have an unsanctioned celebration, and I have a backup cupcake tray. Get over here." I showed up 5 minutes later with Lisa, a Bluetooth speaker, and a hastily printed sign, "Love is temporarily permitted." The whole neighborhood gathered. Someone brought sparkling cider. The vows were perfect. Even Mr. Goldstein cried. Then after the kiss, Karen stood up and made a toast. "In this neighborhood, we've seen swings divide us, and chimes bring us together. Today, love wins. Just please clean up the confetti." Chapter 33. TikTok Karen goes viral. But the biggest twist? Karen got a TikTok, and it exploded. It started as a dare from her niece, a video of her sitting on her swing, sipping tea, with the caption, POV, "You were once the tyrant HOA president, but now host swing yoga." Overnight, 1.2 million views. Comments range from, "This is the redemption arc I didn't know I needed. I want her as my therapist. Does the swing squeak thus?" Karen didn't know what TikTok was 2 months ago. Now, she had a ring light, a theme song, and a series called Chime Time with Karen, where she talked HOA policy in a soothing ASMR voice while watering her lavender. Chapter 34. Fame hits the block. Suddenly, tourists started showing up. No, seriously. People drove by Maplewood just to find that swing lady. One couple asked to take selfies on her porch. Another filmed a duet TikTok reenacting the Karen Fall of 22, using lawn chairs and dramatic zooms. She handled it well, mostly, until someone knocked at 6 a.m. asking if she sold branded chimes. That day, we added a sign to her yard, "No trespassing." "Yes, I'm the swing lady. No, I don't do autographs before 9 a.m. Chapter 35. A new kind of HOA. So here we are, a swing in every third yard, wind chimes in bloom, Karen the influencer, and me, somehow co-president of the most peacefully ridiculous neighborhood in the state. We still have conflicts, a few over-decorators. One guy with a koi pond that sings Taylor Swift? Don't ask. But now, we solve things with cookies and color-coded suggestion jars. And sometimes karaoke, before 10 p.m. of course. And as I sit here now, typing this from my porch, listening to the swing sigh in the wind, and Karen narrate a plant care tutorial into her phone next door. I realize we didn't just fix an HOA, we built a community. One creak, one chime, one slightly awkward swing at a time. Part 9. Karen's live stream confession. Maplewood had never been asked to join the Greater County Civic Celebration before. It was a big deal. Booths, floats, parade routes, funnel cake, mayors awkwardly waving from golf carts. Apparently someone on the town council saw Karen's viral TikToks and thought, this neighborhood seems oddly charming. So they invited us, not just to attend, but to represent our district. Chapter 36, Parade Prep Pandemonium. As co-presidents, Karen and I were given a budget, which was our first mistake, because within 24 hours we'd designed a float shaped like a swing, commissioned a local artist to build a wind chime archway, agreed to wear matching pastel sashes that read, Maplewood, where wind finds home. Karen took it further. She planned a full choreographed routine where 5 volunteers would gently sway on swings while waving paper windmills to the beat of Enya. Lisa threatened to move to Canada. Float construction took place in Mr. Jennings' driveway. He was thrilled to supervise, mostly from a lawn chair with a lemonade. The swing-shaped float was coming together. It had streamers, it had glitter, it had a fog machine we were legally advised not to use indoors. Karen scheduled media interviews. The town's local news even stopped by. And that's when it happened. Chapter 37, The Live Stream That Shook Maplewood. On the day before the parade, Karen went live on TikTok from her porch. She titled it, Chime Chat Epor 22, Preparing for the Parade. She had a mint tea in hand, her lavender cushions behind her, and she was glowing. Thousands of viewers tuned in. She thanked fans, talked about swings, kindness, redemption. But then, someone in the comments dropped a bomb. Didn't you used to fine a 9-year-old for sidewalk chalk? Karen paused, blinked, smiled tightly. That was a different version of me. But the internet wasn't kind. Clips started circulating, screenshots of old HOA memos she'd written. One said, sidewalk chalk leads to chaos and creative anarchy. Disallow immediately. Another showed a citation she gave to the Goldsteins for their patriotic mailbox decor, calling it excessively gleeful. And worst of all, a deep dive video essay titled, Karen, the woman who fought a swing and lost, twice. Over 400,000 views in 6 hours. Chapter 38. The Fallout. The town's parade committee sent a message. Due to public concerns, we'd like to request a clarification on Maplewood's representative image. Are you in fact still run by the woman who once banned wind? Karen didn't cry. She didn't hide. She marched over to my porch and said, we're going live again. Together. Are you sure? I asked. She nodded. I've learned that if you're going to stand for joy, you also have to stand in front of your past. We went live that evening. Chapter 39. Karen's realest moment. There were no props, no tea, no swing behind her. Just Karen, sitting next to me, hair tied back, makeup minimal. She looked right into the camera and said, yes, I was that Karen, the one who fined a chalk artist, the one who once cited someone for humming too loud. I micromanaged joy out of my neighbors because I didn't know how to feel it myself. She took a breath. But that woman, she's gone. She got humbled by a swing, by a creek, by a community that refused to give up on what made life worth living. So if you want to laugh, I get it, but I'm not hiding from it. I'm proud of where I am now, because wind doesn't change the world by blowing harder. It changes it by moving people. I couldn't have said it better. Chapter 40, The Comeback Float. The video hit 1.1 million views by dawn. Comments flooded in. Okay, fine, I cried. That swing did more for humanity than my therapist. This is the kind of character development I expect in Pixar films. The parade committee called back. They said, your float is approved, but maybe skip the fog machine. The next day, Maplewood rolled proudly down Main Street. Our float had 5 swinging volunteers, a chime archway, and Karen at the front, smiling, waving, holding a sign that said, everyone deserves a second swing. The crowd roared. Even the mayor dabbed. We won 3rd place overall. But more importantly, We won back every ounce of pride we ever lost. And Karen, she finally allowed sidewalk chalk again. Part 10, the day the swing fell silent. It started with a weather alert, then came the thunder. A rare coastal storm was heading toward Maplewood, a wild, swirling tantrum named Storm Callista, like a Disney villain with bangs. Wind speeds over 60 mph, flash flood warnings, trash cans were already taking flight like anxious ducks. Karen and I sprang into action. Chapter 41, the Emergency HOA Protocol. We triggered the MCKOS emergency plan. Yes, we had one. We were that kind of HOA now. Lisa gathered supplies. Mr. Jennings ran a tool lending table from his garage. The Goldsteins reinforced the community garden fence with pool noodles and prayer. And the swing? I hesitated. I stood in the backyard staring at it. It had survived so much. Karen appeared beside me holding a wrench. We need to take it down. Just until the storm passes? Just until. We unhooked the swing slowly, like it was a living thing, wrapped it in tarp, stored it in my garage, and waited. Chapter 42, the storm. That night Callista hit. Rain slammed the rooftops like 1,000 tiny fists. Trees bowed and snapped. Chimes screamed like ghosts. The power flickered, then vanished. But we were ready. Neighbors gathered in the community center. Candles, blankets, board games. Karen led calming breathwork sessions by flashlight. Someone brought muffins. Karen approved. We weathered it together. But when morning came, Maplewood looked different. Chapter 43, the damaged tree limbs everywhere, shingles in pools. And in my backyard, the swing's hook mount had ripped right out of the beam. The entire overhead support snapped like a matchstick. I pulled the tarp off the swing. The seat was fine, but its place, its home, was gone. Karen stood next to me, silent. Then she said, "It was meant to move, but not disappear." Chapter 44, the community rebuild. We cleaned together, raked, repaired, reconnected. The community center became the heart of it all. A potluck turned into a fundraiser. A fundraiser turned into a rebuilding weekend. Lisa painted a mural on the side of her garage, a swing soaring through a windy sky with the words, "Let it move you." Karen organized a neighborhood planting day. The Goldsteins brought donuts. They finally forgave us. But the swing's absence lingered. Chapter 45, the new beginning. A month later, I got a knock at my door. It was Karen, holding blueprints. "We're rebuilding it, not just yours, a new one. For everyone." "A community swing?" She nodded. "Right in the middle of the green lot. A place to gather, swing, talk, creak, remember." We called it Maplewood's Wind Garden. It had a triple swing frame, wind chimes from every home, a circle of benches shaped like a spiral, and in the center, engraved in stone, "Every second swing counts." A swing that sang again now. We gather there weekly. Children play. Teens take selfies. Karen reads poems during sunset. Sometimes strangers visit. They sit, swing, listen, and when the wind blows just right, the swing sings again. Not loud, not forced, just enough to remind us that joy can creak, that change is real, and that sometimes the people who try to silence us become the ones who help us be heard.